A routine encounter turns unearthly. The VA Rux sliced through the black of the Perseus fracture like a silver arrow through ink. Around it, space twisted in subtle ways, a region riddled with unstable gravity eddies and dark matter shimmers. For most races, it was a no-fly zone. For the Karth Dominion, it was a border. Captain Scythar leaned over his command platform, mandibles clenched in irritation. Patrol duty along the human frontier was beneath a rinth of his experience. He was bred for conquest, raised on tales of burning colonies and shattered orbital citadels. Not this. Contact, came a call from Nav Officer Drek, his voice wavering. Starboard grid. One vessel. Low signature. No heat. Scythar narrowed his dark, pupilless eyes. Human. Affirmative, Drek confirmed. Registry tag reads, HSF Vengeance. No life signs. No propulsion. Derelict. Whispers rolled through the bridge like a passing tremor. Bring us closer. Maintain stealth envelope, Scythar ordered. Launch an interstitial scan. I want a full internal schematic. At once, his crew obeyed. The Dominion's latest prize, an interstitial wave scanner, was meant to see through ship hulls like X-rays through skin. It could detect reactor coils, embedded weapons, even cryopod clusters. The perfect tool for dissecting primitive Terran designs. Scan initializing, Drek muttered. The screen shimmered. At first, the wireframe appeared as expected. A Terran battleship, long and blade-shaped, with armored struts and redundant reactor bays. But then, the readings began to pulse. Violently, the schematic warped, no longer a tidy outline, but a twisted lattice of incomprehensible density. Pockets of gravity registered inside the frame, dense enough to mimic neutron stars, yet too small to be natural. What is this? Whispered Rakath, the chief engineer. There are black holes inside the hull. Contained. Suspended. Impossible, Scythar spat. That violates every galactic law of energy conservation. Drek turned pale. Sensors confirm. 14 miniaturized singularities held in magnetic confinement. Function unknown. Scythar's claws twitched. The Dominion had banned singularity manipulation centuries ago. Even its theoretical use was considered reckless. The humans, notorious for their crude engineering, had not only unlocked it, but deployed it inside a warship. No heat signature, because the ship doesn't need thermal energy, Rakath said, stunned. It's self-sustaining. The Hawking radiation from the singularities powers the systems. That's why it reads cold. It's hiding in plain sight, Drek added. To any standard scanner, it looks dead. Scythar felt a cold dread creeping down his back. Run an analysis of the armament. What weapons does it carry? The data came slowly. What they found was worse than silence. There are no traditional weapon systems, Rakath said. No plasma cannons. No missile silos. Not even kinetic railguns. Then it's bluffing, Scythar said, forcing calm. No, Captain, Rakath said, eyes wide. This entire ship is a weapon. The singularities, they're tuned. If destabilized, they'd collapse this section of space. The equivalent of a controlled supernova without light. Scythar's mandibles clicked in thought. So the humans built a deterrent. Rakath nodded slowly. They don't fight with it. They show it. Let others scan it, draw conclusions. It's a psychological weapon. Just then, the console blipped. Something's happening, Drek warned. The ship is responding. We triggered a passive pingback. It's waking up. Across the bridge, lights dimmed. The crew's neural implants began to buzz with phantom interference. The VA Rux systems stuttered as if slapped by an unseen force. Through the comms channel, a low hum emerged, like a heartbeat, rising in tempo. Then a voice. Calm. Female. Terran. Unidentified vessel. You have scanned a high-risk deterrence platform. No threat has been posed to your ship. Please disengage. This is your only warning. The bridge fell into frozen silence. That was pre-recorded? Scythar asked. No, Drek said. Real time. The ship has a live AI. We woke it. A long silence followed. The Dominion had cataloged human AI as primitive, tools of convenience, glorified maintenance bots. But this was sentient, possibly sapient, and it had spoken gently. Scythar's spine stiffened. Save all scan logs. Encrypt them under Black Directive. Prepare a courier drone for High Command. Shall we withdraw? Rakath asked. Scythar's gaze lingered on the screen. The Vengeance floated quietly, motionless. It didn't look like a predator. It looked like a ghost, guarding a doorway no one was meant to open. Not yet, he said, voice quiet. If this is what they leave behind, I must know what they're truly capable of. Peering into the abyss of human ingenuity, the Via Ruck held station a cautious 10 kilometers from the Terran vessel, the HSF Vengeance, though Scythar felt as if they were hovering at the edge of a black hole. Fear crackled through the bridge crew's neural mesh, each Irinth officer trying not to show it. But it was there, in clipped words, shaking hands, and sidelong glances at the growing singularity data on their screens. Launch remote drones, Scythar ordered. No physical contact. I want interior visuals. Full telemetry. The science team complied. 4 insectal nano-drones exited the VA Ruck's dorsal bay, cloaked in anti-reflection gel. They slid silently toward the warship like flies toward a sleeping beast. When the first drone breached the outer hull of the Vengeance, it encountered no resistance. A segment of the outer plating peeled back as if sensing the intrusion, exposing an entry shaft lined with undulating alloy fibers. What is that? Drek muttered, watching the feed. The walls are moving. Organic response polymers, said Rakath, but more advanced than any we've seen. It's mimicking muscle, alive but machine. Inside, the corridors pulsed gently, lined with veins of softly glowing material. The drone passed a bulkhead, which parted like the petals of a flower. The hallway beyond was pristine, but nothing like Dominion design principles. There were no control panels, no exposed wiring, only curved architecture, quiet and humming, like the inside of a living organism. Where are the crew quarters? Scythar asked. The drone entered a chamber lined with cryopods, most deactivated. Yet one glowed faintly. Life support still active, said Drek. But no life signs. Only echo fields. What does that mean? Rakath's voice was tense. Memory resonance. The ship is maintaining psychic profiles of its former crew, enough to simulate behavior. Scythar felt his throat tighten. You're telling me it remembers its people? Not just remembers, Rakath whispered. It emulates them. The drone reached what appeared to be a medbay. White sterile, lit by soft bioluminescent nodes. Surgical pods stood ready. Not for humans, but clearly adjusted for non-human physiology. Scythar stared. Why would they treat aliens? They prepared for us, Drek said slowly. Not to fight, to save. Then came a next shock. The second drone, exploring the lower decks, passed through a gate into the core chamber. At its center was a sphere, a hollow black orb suspended midair, surrounded by rings of flickering containment fields. The area around it rippled, as if reality itself were bending. Captain, Rakath breathed. This must be the source of the singularities. That's the Wraith Drive. The name itself appeared on a display etched into the wall. Wraith Drive Containment. Failure equals regional vacuum collapse. Scythar's carapace shifted uneasily. That's not just a reactor. That's a weaponized anomaly. The containment is perfect, Rakath said, voice a mix of awe and fear. There's no radiation leak, no destabilization. The drive is active and calm. I don't like calm, Scythar snapped. Calm can hide monsters. Before he could speak further, the ship's internal systems activated. The drones halted. From a ceiling, a thin beam of light projected down, forming a holographic image. It was a woman, dark-skinned, wearing a navy blue Terran officer's coat. Her face was serene, her hands folded behind her back. Hello, she said in fluent Dominion standard. If you're receiving this message, then you've entered the HSF Vengeance without authorization. I am Captain Aurora Reyes. Do not be afraid. The bridge crew froze. She knows our language, Drek whispered. She knew we would come, Scythar corrected. This message is personal. Captain Reyes' hologram continued. This ship is a deterrence platform, not a war vessel. Its presence is meant to prevent conflict through fear of overwhelming reprisal. If you understand that, then leave. We will not harm you, but do not test our resolve." Then, with a gentle smile, she added, "We remember those who seek peace." The projection vanished. The drones received a return command, silent but firm. They were no longer welcome. On the bridge, the tension thickened. "That's not just strategy," Rakath murmured. "It's philosophy." Drek nodded slowly. "They build a monster to avoid becoming one." "Except it is a monster," Scyther growled. "The technology here is beyond forbidden. They have no right." "They didn't ask for our permission," Rakath said quietly. "And maybe they don't need it." Before anyone could respond, a warning pulse jolted the bridge. The Vengeance was emitting low-frequency graviton waves, a subtle shift in space-time that gently pushed the VA Ruck back, like a polite hand on the chest. A quiet but firm demand. "Go now." Scyther stared at the growing distance between the two ships. The Terran vessel hadn't fired a shot, hadn't locked a weapon, but somehow it had cowed an entire Dominion warship with nothing but presence and silence. "Prepare a data capsule," Scyther said at last. "Everything we've seen, every scan. Encrypt it and send it to High Command." "And us?" Drek asked. Scyther stared at the ghostly silhouette of the Vengeance, drifting in the darkness like a blade wrapped in velvet. "We wait. If this is what they leave behind, then we've only seen the shadow of the storm. The secret within the signal." The drone returned silently. It docked with the VA Ruck's port airlock and was immediately quarantined in an isolation chamber. Science technicians, garbed in bio-shielded suits, extracted its core data module and ran it through a non-networked analysis terminal per Scyther's orders. No one dared risk letting the Terran ship's AI hitch a ride into their systems. "I want a full breakdown of everything that drone encountered," Scyther commanded, standing behind the science dais. His claws tapped impatiently against the railing. "Initial scans show something disturbing," Rakath said. He enlarged the visual of the drone's final moments inside the Vengeance. A still image of a bridge console with several biomechanical interface nodes embedded along its surface. "Control ports," Drek said. "No," Rakath corrected. "Not just controls. Neuralink bionodes. The ship isn't operated with physical input. It's bonded to its crew through the nervous system." Scyther frowned. "Terrans have used neural interfaces before. That's not new." Rakath shook his head. "Not like this. The nodes adapt to multiple neurotypes. One of them here," he highlighted a node shaped like a thorn spiral, "matches Arinth neural configurations. Specifically, our species' brainwave frequency patterns." Silence choked the room. "You're saying this ship was built to be piloted by us?" Drek asked, disbelief thick in his voice. "Or we were studied enough to allow the option," Rakath said. "That's a line," Scyther muttered. "Either the humans planned to capture and use Dominion officers, or they built this ship for us." A third possibility lingered unspoken in the room. Infiltration. Manipulation. The humans, perhaps, had long ago predicted a need to guide, or subvert, the Dominion from within. "This can't be public," Scyther said at last. "If High Command finds out we were this vulnerable, they'll bury the report, and us." As he turned back to the main display, another alert chimed. The VA Ruck's long-range sensors began pulsing erratically. "Inbound warp shadows," Drek reported. "Multiple vessels. Human configuration. 4, maybe 5. Small fast. No weapons powered, but their drives are hot." Scyther's gaze locked onto the growing signals. "Stealth corvettes. Coming for their ghost ship." "The Vengeance sent a signal when we triggered the AI," Rakath guessed. "They've come to collect, or to bury the evidence." A new message flashed on the secure channel. "Dominion High Command priority burst." Scyther opened it with dread. The directive was brief. Chilling. "Secure the Terran vessel or destroy it. Absolute imperative. Do not allow retrieval." He clenched his jaw. The order came directly from the Hierophants of the Dominion Senate. No flexibility. No mercy. "Weapons?" he asked. "Minimal," Drek said. "We've already suffered passive lockdown interference from the Vengeance. Our rail batteries are offline. Missile systems are struggling to cycle. They disarmed us, Scythar muttered. Without touching us. He stared out the viewport at the Terran warship, still dark, still unmoving. Yet in every molecule of its frame was the implied threat of annihilation. The humans had built a perfect warning, and now the Dominion demanded he walk into it. We have to make a choice, Rakath said quietly. Scythar looked over his crew. Trained soldiers, loyal scientists, all of them had seen enough to know the truth. This wasn't about power anymore. It was about understanding the kind of enemy. No, the kind of species humanity had become. They left the Wraith Drive cold, Scythar whispered. They could have destroyed us already. But they didn't. Drek hesitated, then asked, Captain, what if the horror isn't the weapon? What if it's the fact that they don't use it? The bridge fell still. Scythar had once feared plasma cannons and orbital hammers. But this quiet restraint, this calculated mercy, wrapped around apocalyptic potential, that was worse. That was terrifying. Another alert blinked. The lead Terran corvette, HSF Kindness, had pinged their ship with a message. Scythar opened the channel. A human. Horrors beyond horror. Hope beyond hope. The holographic feed flickered to life, casting a soft blue glow over the Viruk's dimly lit bridge. A Terran woman appeared, olive skin, graying hair neatly tied back, her dark eyes calm, calculating but not unkind. Her uniform bore the insignia of the human stellar fleet, and her name badge read, Commander Lucia Jean. Dominion vessel Viruk, she began, her voice precise but devoid of aggression. You have breached containment proximity with a classified deterrence vessel. You've scanned technology not intended for foreign analysis, but you've done no harm. And for that, you still have a choice. Scythar leaned forward. You speak of choice, Terran, while we sit disarmed and blind under your shadow. Commander Zhang gave a faint nod. We didn't disable your ship out of malice. The Vengeance is equipped with passive countermeasures that respond to hostile scans. They've triggered automatically. But we are not here to destroy you, only to ensure that ship does not fall into the wrong hands. Is this a threat? Scythar asked. No, Zhang replied simply. It's an invitation. To survive. To understand. The bridge of the Viruk was silent as Scythar mulled her words. The science team stared at their consoles, watching as the corvettes formed a loose perimeter around the Vengeance, keeping weapons stowed, engines at idle. Zhang continued. The Vengeance was designed during the darkest hours of our history. Not to be used, but to be seen. We knew deterrence would only work if someone like you found her. You built a monster, Rakath said quietly, stepping beside Scythar, and then set adrift like bait. Zhang's voice softened. Yes, and no. We built a symbol, a weapon that fires only once, in the mind of the observer. You scanned her. You saw what she carries. You felt what it meant. Scythar said nothing. Every instinct screamed at him to seize this advantage, to send the intel to high command, to order the suicide attack his orders demanded. But he couldn't, not because he was afraid of dying, but because the Terrans had made him afraid of what kind of galaxy would rise from surviving such a confrontation. Another message flashed on the comms board. A new ship had entered the system, Dominion ID tag, military-grade cruiser. Not allies, not reinforcements, hunters. Drek's voice trembled. High Command sent an execution squad. They heard the transmission, Scythar muttered, and now they want to erase the witnesses. We won't survive a crossfire, Rakath said. But the humans might. Scythar stood tall. No, if we flee, we doom the truth to shadows again. If we fight back, we die liars. But if we stand still, maybe someone listens. The bridge crew looked to him, stunned. Patch me through to Commander Zhang, he ordered. The screen flickered back. Zhang met his gaze calmly. Commander, Scythar said, I request asylum. For myself, for my crew. We will testify. We will show the galaxy what we saw, what you chose not to unleash. Zhang was silent for a long beat. Then she nodded. Acknowledged. Lower your shields. Maintain position behind the Vengeance. We will intercede. As the Viruk drifted into the protective shadow of the Terran dreadnought, the Dominion hunter cruiser came into view, sleek, bristling with high-powered weapons, engines burning hot with rage and urgency. The Dominion ship hailed. "Captain Scythar, you are ordered to withdraw from the human perimeter and purge your vessel's memory cores. Failure to comply will result in immediate annihilation." No response, Scythar said. "Let them see who we stand beside." Moments later, the Hunter cruiser fired. But the Vengeance moved before the impact. The Wraith drive shimmered to life. A soundless pulse warped the void. The space between ships folded, and the energy barrage vanished. Not detonated, not blocked, erased as if it had never been. Then silence. No counterattack. No threat. Only the Terran corvettes repositioning to shield both ships, forming a wall of restraint. Drek exhaled. It didn't fire back. Scythar felt his chest tighten. "No," he said, voice hoarse. "Because they already won." Epilogue, 3 weeks later. The galaxy reeled. Footage of the Vengeance, the scans, and Scythar's recorded testimony went viral across the outer systems. Dominion citizens, once conditioned to fear Terran barbarism, now questioned the Empire's lies. Peace factions swelled. Protests bloomed in Karth capital cities. Priests whispered that perhaps restraint was the highest form of strength. On New Geneva, under human protection, Scythar stood in a public park watching children, human and alien alike, play under the same sky. Rakath stood beside him. "I thought we'd be executed." Scythar nodded. "So did I. And now?" "Now," he said, "I believe the real horror wasn't their ship. It was that they had the power to unmake us, and chose not to." Above them, the Vengeance held orbit. Not a weapon, not a monster, a silent sentinel, a promise, a warning, and maybe, just maybe, a hope.